So as you get closer to your due date, I imagine that pushing is on your mind. And over the last 15 years, I've worked with a lot of couples and seen a lot of pushing. And so I want to answer questions for you, but we're going to do it quick. So in the next 5 minutes, I'm going to see how many of this list of the top pushing questions that I pulled from the internet we can cover. And the timer is going to start as soon as my assistant reads the first question.
What does pushing in labor feel like?
So pushing feels a lot like having a really big bowel movement. So it's almost identical to that feeling, a lot of pressure, not contraction pain, but pressure instead of that pain.
How long does pushing in labor take?
So it depends if you've had a birth vaginally before, but first time moms, it usually takes between 1 to 4 hours, really common in that 2 or 3 hours. And if you've had a birth vaginally before, it can only take sometimes a few pushes or an hour of pushing, significantly less after you've had one baby.
What positions can you be in during pushing?
So the most common position is that on the back with knees up, pushing in sort of a semi-sitting position. But you can also push in a squatting position, on a birth stool, standing, hands and knees. Really depends on your care provider and what they'll support, and also if you have an epidural, if your legs are able to support your weight. Also, side lying is a great position for pushing.
Can pushing start labor?
No. So pushing does not start labor. Don't try to push to try to get labor to start.
What will pushing feel like with an epidural?
So this is really a good question. It usually people feel some kind of pressure with an epidural. The epidurals take away contraction pain, but they don't necessarily take the pain and the pressure from pushing away. So you will feel something if you have an epidural.
What is pushing like with hemorrhoids?
Hemorrhoids, a lot of people get them in pregnancy, and sometimes it's like people are worried about pushing when they have hemorrhoids, but really it doesn't have an increased pain or increased discomfort. But then sometimes, that's about right.
What does premature pushing mean?
Oh, premature pushing is when you push before your cervix is totally out of the way. So before you push, you want your cervix to be completely thinned, completely effaced, and you want your cervix to be totally open, so completely dilated, so 10 centimeters dilated, 100% effaced. And at that time, that's when pushing should begin. If you push before your cervix is out of the way, that's called premature pushing, and it can lead to tearing of the cervix.
How do you breathe during pushing?
There's 2 ways really to breathe during pushing, and the first way that has been used for so long and is very present still is called purple pushing or closed glottis pushing, and that's where you take a big deep breath when the contraction starts and you hold your breath, and usually you push into maybe a count of 10, take another breath, and do that 3 times. It's not necessarily research based. Really, research follows more of an open glottis pushing, which is listening to your body and hopefully feeling those contractions, or if you have an epidural, being told when to push, taking a big breath in, and then doing more of a grunting or more of a moaning and ooh low sounds when you're pushing. That is a better way to keep getting oxygenation to the baby and to your uterus. So those are 2 different types of breathing during pushing.
Can you push before labor?
No. So you don't want to push before labor. This must be a common question on the internet. You can't start labor by pushing, and you don't want to push before labor starts.
What is spontaneous pushing in labor?
Spontaneous pushing is when you don't have an epidural usually, and when you can feel, when your body feels that natural urge to push, and actually your uterus and your body just pushes on its own. So what it sounds like is somebody going through labor. It might be just breathing through a contraction, and then all of a sudden, and they're like, what just happened? And that's when your uterus like spontaneously tries to push the baby down and out. That's when the baby's nice and low, and when your cervix is out of the way.
Will I get hemorrhoids after pushing?
Oh, hemorrhoids again. Yes. So it is common to get hemorrhoids after an extended period of pushing. If your body is prone to hemorrhoids, it is not uncommon to have a hemorrhoid or hemorrhoids from after pushing. So yes, could happen.
What is delayed pushing in labor?
Delayed pushing is when the cervix is ready to go and the baby cervix is completely dilated and effaced, but your care provider suggests that you wait before actively pushing. So sometimes this is called laboring down, and it's really only done with an epidural or if you don't have a strong urge to push.
What is effective pushing in labor?
Effective means that you're making movement with the baby. So as you are pushing, that the baby is actually getting closer, getting lower in their station. Okay, lightning round was over. If you haven't seen the lightning round about water breaking, make sure to check that out here. And down below in the description are links to the Supporting Her online course for partners, my favorite workbook for parents that are wanting more information, like all of this about pushing and about water breaking and more, and also just some of my favorite top recommendations. So check that out if you haven't been there.